Pay attention to this security camera footage from a parking garage in Austin, Texas, November 2016. It's 2:17 a.m. You're watching a woman walk toward a silver sedan. She's alone. She looks over her shoulder twice, like she knows someone might be watching. Now look at the vehicle 3 spaces behind hers. See that shadow in the driver's seat? Someone's been sitting there for over an hour, waiting. Watch what happens next. The woman gets in her car, starts the engine, and then, see that flash? That's a camera. The person in that other car is photographing her, documenting her movements. Adding to what investigators will later discover is an archive of over 12,000 images. This footage would become a crucial piece of evidence in one of the most disturbing digital stalking cases in American history. A case where nothing was as it seemed, where the victim wasn't who everyone thought, and where the truth was so twisted that even seasoned detectives couldn't believe it when they finally figured it out. You ever get a weird text from an ex? Maybe they're checking in, maybe they're a little bitter, maybe they just want closure. It's uncomfortable, sure, but it's usually just one text, maybe 2. Now imagine getting hundreds of texts a day, thousands of emails, death threats, photos of your house, messages describing exactly what you were wearing that morning, messages that arrive at 3 a.m., at noon, at dinner time, all day, every day, for 4 years straight. That was the nightmare that started in Austin, Texas in 2015, when a man named Ryan Mitchell decided to try online dating after his divorce. Ryan was a 35-year-old mechanic who'd moved to Austin to be closer to his 2 kids. He wasn't looking for anything serious, just wanted to meet people, maybe have some fun, so he downloaded a dating app and started swiping. What happened next would turn into a 4-year digital hell that would involve harassment, stalking, arson, and a mystery that would stump police for years. This is a story about obsession, about the dark side of technology, and about how sometimes the person terrorizing you is the last person you'd ever suspect. The beginning. In the summer of 2015, Ryan Mitchell matched with a woman named Nicole Porter on a dating app. Nicole was 41, a single mom, worked in finance. She was funny, laid back, and made it clear from the start that she wasn't looking for anything serious either. They met for coffee, hit it off, and started seeing each other casually. It was perfect. No pressure, no drama, just 2 people who enjoyed each other's company. They'd hang out a couple times a week, grab dinner, watch movies at Ryan's apartment. Nicole was cool with the fact that Ryan was still figuring out his post-divorce life. Then in October 2015, Ryan met someone else at work. Her name was Melissa Torres. She was a 37-year-old IT consultant who'd been hired to upgrade the computer systems at the auto shop where Ryan worked. They started talking during her lunch breaks. She was smart, ambitious, recently out of a long-term relationship. And unlike Nicole, Melissa seemed like she might want something more serious down the line. Ryan figured he'd keep things casual with both of them for a while and see what developed. He told Nicole about Melissa. They'd agreed to keep things open after all. Nicole said she was fine with it. No jealousy, no drama. One evening in late October, Ryan invited Melissa over to his apartment. They were having wine, talking, getting to know each other better. And then there was a knock at the door. It was Nicole. She said she'd left her phone charger at Ryan's place a few days earlier and needed to grab it. She stepped inside, saw Melissa sitting on the couch, and the air got a little tense. But Nicole just smiled, grabbed her charger from the kitchen counter, and left. The whole interaction lasted maybe 2 minutes. Awkward, sure, but not a big deal. Right? Wrong. 2 weeks later, on November 13th, 2015, Ryan kissed Melissa goodbye after a date. She left his apartment around 11 p.m. to drive home. Ryan went to bed. The next morning, his phone was blowing up with text messages, but they weren't from anyone in his contacts. The number was unfamiliar, but the sender identified herself as Melissa. The messages were bizarre, angry, rambling. "You're a liar! You used me. I never want to see you again. I know what you did. Everyone's going to know. Stay away from me or you'll regret it." Ryan was confused. Everything had been fine when Melissa left the night before. What was she talking about? He tried calling the number, but it went straight to voicemail. He tried Melissa's regular number, also voicemail. He sent text back. "What's going on? Are you okay? Did something happen?" The angry messages kept coming, dozens of them. Then the threats started. "I'm going to ruin your life. You have no idea what I'm capable of. Watch your back." Ryan tried to reach Melissa through work, but her colleagues said she'd called in sick. He drove to her apartment building. Her car wasn't there. He left messages begging her to just talk to him, to tell him what was wrong. But Melissa Torres never responded, and she never came back to work. It was like she'd vanished. The terror. After Melissa disappeared, the messages didn't stop. In fact, they got worse. Ryan started receiving 50, 60, sometimes over 100 texts a day from that same unknown number. The person claimed to be Melissa, but the things they were saying didn't sound like her at all. "I'm watching you. I see you leave for work every morning. Nicole is trash. You're trash. Everyone will know what you are. I broke into your apartment while you were gone. How does that feel?" Ryan went to the police. He filed a report about the harassment and explained that Melissa Torres had gone missing right before it started. But here's the problem. When police tried to investigate, they couldn't find any evidence of foul play. Melissa's family confirmed she'd left town. Her bank account showed activity. Someone was using her credit cards. The working theory? Melissa had some kind of breakdown after the awkward encounter with Nicole, and now she was harassing Ryan out of spite or instability. But Ryan wasn't the only target. Nicole started receiving threatening messages too. Messages claiming to be from Melissa, calling her horrible names, threatening violence. Nicole's car tires were slashed. Someone spray-painted "whore" on her garage door. A dead rat showed up in her mailbox. Then Ryan's ex-wife, Jennifer, started getting messages. Whoever was behind this had dug up old photos of Jennifer and Ryan from social media and was sending them to Jennifer with disturbing captions. "He never loved you. He's mine now." This wasn't just harassment anymore. This was a full-scale campaign of terror. For months, it continued. The police were involved, but they couldn't trace the messages. The person was using burner phones and fake email accounts. Ryan and Nicole both got restraining orders against Melissa Torres, even though nobody knew where she was. And then things escalated even further. In March 2016, someone set fire to Nicole's house. She wasn't home. She'd been staying at a friend's place because she was too scared to sleep in her own bed, but her house was badly damaged. Arson investigators found evidence that the fire had been deliberately set. A few weeks later, more photos started appearing in the messages sent to Ryan. Photos of his kids' school, photos taken from outside his apartment window, photos of Nicole at the grocery store, at the gym, getting gas. Whoever was doing this had been following them, watching them. For months, Nicole was terrified. Ryan was terrified. The police were investigating, but they still believed this was all coming from Melissa Torres, a woman who'd apparently become unhinged and disappeared. But here's what bothered Ryan. Why would Melissa do this? They'd only gone on a handful of dates. There'd been no fight, no dramatic breakup. Just one awkward moment with Nicole, and then this. It didn't add up. Ryan started to wonder, what if Melissa wasn't the stalker? What if Melissa was a victim too? He shared his theory with police, but they were skeptical. All the messages claimed to be from Melissa. The harassment started right after Melissa disappeared. Who else would it be? Then, in July 2017, nearly 2 years into this nightmare, Ryan's apartment building security cameras caught something interesting: the unraveling. The footage was from 3 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. Ryan had been receiving particularly disturbing messages that week, messages that described the inside of his apartment, things that only someone who'd been inside would know. Building security went back through their archived footage, looking for any signs of a break-in, and that's when they found it. At 2:47 a.m., a figure in dark clothing and a baseball cap approached Ryan's building. They used a key fob to enter, meaning they either lived there or had someone's stolen access card. Then they went straight to Ryan's floor. The footage wasn't great quality, but when investigators enhanced it, they noticed something crucial: the person's build, their gait, the way they moved. It wasn't a man. It was a woman. And she was carrying something, a camera. Police started pulling more footage from the building's parking garage. That's when they found the November 2016 footage from the pre-intro. A woman photographing Nicole's car, documenting when she came and went. When they enhanced those images, the investigators finally got a clear look at the stalker's face. It wasn't Melissa Torres. It was Nicole Porter, the woman Ryan had been dating, the woman he'd been trying to protect, the woman who'd been presenting herself as a victim of Melissa's harassment. Nicole had been behind everything. The police brought Nicole in for questioning. At first, she denied everything. But when confronted with the parking garage footage, the building security videos, and the digital forensics showing that many of the messages had been sent from locations near Nicole's house and work, her story started to crumble. And then investigators made an even more horrifying discovery. Melissa Torres wasn't hiding. She wasn't on the run. She hadn't had a breakdown. Melissa Torres had been dead since November 14, 2015, the day after she'd briefly met Nicole at Ryan's apartment. Based on phone records and surveillance footage from that night, investigators pieced together what had happened. After Melissa left Ryan's apartment, Nicole had followed her. Nicole had ambushed Melissa in the parking lot of her apartment building, killed her, and disposed of her body. Then Nicole had stolen Melissa's phone and started sending those messages to Ryan, posing as Melissa, making it look like Melissa was the one who was unstable and dangerous. For nearly 2 years, Nicole had orchestrated an elaborate scheme. She'd sent thousands of threatening messages from burner phones. She'd vandalized her own property to make herself look like a victim. She'd set fire to her own house. She'd stalked Ryan and his family while pretending to be stalked. Why? Because she was obsessed with Ryan. She'd never been okay with their casual relationship. When Melissa entered the picture, Nicole couldn't handle it. So she eliminated her competition and then created a digital boogeyman to keep Ryan dependent on her, to make him feel like they were united against a common threat. But where was Melissa's body? That question haunted investigators for months. Nicole refused to say. They searched properties she had access to, areas where her phone had pinged, anywhere they could think of. Finally, in December 2018, a hiker in the woods about 50 miles outside Austin discovered remains that were later identified as Melissa Torres. She'd been there the whole time, buried in a shallow grave, while Nicole carried on with her sick game. The evidence against Nicole was overwhelming. The security footage, the digital forensics showing she'd sent thousands of messages from multiple devices, the arson evidence from her own house, testimony from Ryan and others about her behavior, and finally, Melissa's remains. Nicole Porter was arrested and charged with murder, stalking, arson, and a dozen other counts. Her trial began in mid-2019. The prosecution painted a picture of a deeply disturbed woman who'd become so obsessed that she'd murdered an innocent person and then spent years terrorizing everyone around her, all while playing the victim. Nicole's defense tried to argue that she'd been mentally unstable, that she hadn't planned any of it, that the murder had been an act of passion she'd regretted. But the mountains of evidence, the calculated stalking, the careful cover-up, the years of sustained harassment showed clear premeditation and manipulation. The jury didn't buy the defense's arguments. After 6 days of deliberation, they returned with their verdict, guilty on all counts. The conviction of Nicole Porter finally brought some peace to Ryan Mitchell and his family. But it could never undo the trauma of those 4 years or bring Melissa Torres back. Ryan still struggles with trust. He deleted all his social media. He moved to a different city. The constant fear that someone's watching, that someone's taking photos, that his phone might explode with threatening messages. It took years of therapy to manage. Jennifer, Ryan's ex-wife, and their children also received counseling. The kids had been exposed to some of the threats, They'd seen their father living in constant fear. That's not something you just get over. But the person who paid the ultimate price was Melissa Torres. She was a kind, brilliant woman who'd just started getting her life back together after a difficult breakup. She met a nice guy, went on a few dates, and was excited about the future. She did absolutely nothing wrong, and she was murdered for it. Melissa's family, her parents, her younger sister, attended every day of Nicole's trial. They sat in that courtroom and listened to the details of how Nicole had stalked and killed their daughter. How Melissa's body had been left in those woods for years while Nicole played her twisted games. At the sentencing hearing, Melissa's mother gave a statement that brought everyone in the courtroom to tears. She talked about Melissa's laugh, her ambitions, her compassion. She talked about the grandchildren she'd never get to have, the wedding she'd never get to plan. All the moments stolen by one person's obsession. Nicole didn't just take my daughter's life, she said. She took our future. She took every holiday, every birthday, every moment we'll never get to share. And she did it because she couldn't handle rejection, because she thought she owned another human being. The case led to significant changes in how law enforcement handles digital stalking and harassment cases. It highlighted how stalkers can manipulate situations to make themselves appear as victims, and it showed how deadly obsession can be in the age of technology. Nicole Porter was convicted on the following charges: first-degree murder, aggravated stalking, arson, harassment, identity theft, and destruction of property. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the murder, plus an additional 45 years on the remaining charges to be served consecutively. She will die in prison. Some people can't accept that not everyone will love them the way they want to be loved. Most people deal with that disappointment and move on, but Nicole Porter couldn't, and her inability to let go cost Melissa Torres everything. Melissa Torres was 37 years old when she died. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a woman with her whole life ahead of her. She deserved to find love. She deserved to be happy. She deserved so much better than what happened to her. Rest in peace, Melissa. Your family will never stop fighting to keep your memory alive.